Welcome to Rider Gamer. My name's Kevin. Happy to be a rider and a gamer. Today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and opinions about, well, No Man's Sky Expedition. So, the most recent one is the Singularity. Now, if you've played an Expedition before, you've played an Expedition. It's kind of like a giant side quest. Go here, go there, collect this, collect that, collect your reward, and that is your expedition. That's not even like an inaccurate description. That's an objective, accurate description. Some of them kind of have what we could call the beginnings of an intriguing story. Some of them don't. Like the Singularity kind of did capture me a little bit in terms of its loose story that it has. But overall, when I finished it, I was like, well, that was just a crap story within of itself, because Hello Games does what Hello Games does best. Fucking nothing. I know there's got to be people that don't like that, but I mean, you either want this game to improve and to be entertaining and fun, or you just want the same shit handed to you every time. I mean, you know. In fact, you know, some of the biggest weaknesses of this game is that there is no story to follow along in. Yeah, I know there's going to be people that say there are stories. You just have to go to the monoliths and stuff like that to get it, and it's like, no, that's not a story. There's fucking more story in Elden Ring than No Man's Sky. And that's saying a lot. I mean, you look at the alien races that are actually in it. Tell me what's unique about them. What's their culture like? What kind of buildings did their ancestors create? What kind of buildings are they creating today? How about the Viking, the Corvex? What unique ships do they have? Like, if we were to put any of the alien races from a cultural aspect against any other science fiction, they would objectively fail. No Man's Sky versus Star Trek. Star Trek wins. No Man's Sky versus Firefly. Guess what? Firefly wins. For fuck's sake, dude. No Man's Sky versus Stargate. Stargate wins. Because we're talking about culture and uniqueness here. There's nothing unique about these aliens. They all use the same ships. They're all designed the same. All their ancient monoliths are all the same. There's nothing unique about them. They are just... They're worse than an empty NPC, alright? They're just there to fill a needless void of wasted potential. And you know, the Expeditions is also wasted potential. This is an opportunity to actually create story, depth to these alien races. Like, if I were to create an expedition, like I had the authority to be like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're creating the Corvex homeworld. We're going to give them their own unique ship designs. So now we're getting new ships that you can fly that are unique to the Corvex. So you won't really see other aliens flying them around other than other players. And they're going to have their own unique buildings. We're going to completely redo their ancient monoliths and give them their own unique culture, their own ancient monoliths. We're going to create their home world, their home solar system, where the players can go visit them. Actually visit not procedurally generated cities, but handcrafted cities. That's what we're going to do. And then, of course, you know, you do another expedition, and now we're, you know, the Gek, the Viking. And yes, I'm not saying that these have to be free, because there's going to be a lot more work into it. I think that No Man's Sky, even given their crappy launch, I think they easily could start making some paid expansion packs. Or even paid expansion pack expeditions that really, truly dive into these alien races and even create new alien races. I would also say, Sean Murray, that it would be best if you got rid of the 18 quadrillion planets. I would say, look at, you know, what we know about real space. Look at the smallest galaxy that we have discovered, and that's how many planets are going to be in No Man's Sky. Who cares if it reverses everyone's discoveries? Because honestly, they're not that impressive. Let's be real here. It would not hurt me if I lost everything that I discovered because they decided to update it and lessen the amount of planets. That way, hopefully, there's more unique. I would even say, don't even just do a galaxy. Do like Star Trek, a quadrant. All right? So, here's a quadrant that we can explore. Then you could just, you know, release in an expansion pack other quadrants that have their own unique graphical resources that are used to generate those animals and the planets. Not only that, diversify the animals. insects, reptiles, amphibians, sea, fresh water, insects, bugs, arachnids, take your pick, all right? It's all there. Gravity needs to play a part in this. The types of planets that exist need to take part in it as well. I think this is the biggest weakness of No Man's. I think that the game does have potential within of itself. Add new alien races. And don't just add alien races that the player can willingly, choose to play as. But create alien races that players can go discover. That's one reason why you would have to, shrink the size of the 18 useless quadrillion planets. That way players at least have a chance of discovering these alien races that they can then add and play as. I would also say that we also need different ways to start the game. I'm kind of getting fucking sick and tired of, hey, guess what? Your ship's broken, you gotta repair it. Yeah, apparently Hello Games has a lack of imagination and can't create different scenarios. That's something that objectively needs to be added to this game. Like if you go to Steam, its player base jumps up and down. And it jumps up and down because of every time a new update comes out. Otherwise, it becomes stagnant for a while. I would dare say the same is true for the consoles, even though there's no numbers that I can look at. But if it's happening for Steam, I'd imagine it's happening the same for the consoles. And don't get me wrong, I'm well aware that even if we were to take a quadrant of a galaxy, that's still a shit ton of graphical resources that would be limited. But at the same time, it's like, one thing that I never understood about Hello Games when they did their updates is they don't add a lot of new graphical resources to really try to make these animals and these planets unique. Like I remember them saying that there was going to be gas giants. There's no gas giant. Now I have had people say, well, you can't land on a gas giant. But gas giants have a shit ton of fucking moons, dude. Not to mention, just so we're all on the same page, isn't this supposed to be like science fiction? Like, we already know from, NASA and discovering that there is usually a solid core in these gas giants. So could we not use this science fiction to say that we, as the player, can land on the core if we have the right ships, the right shielding to do such a thing? I find it funny that people are like, I don't want realism in the game. And it's like, well, you can add a gas giant and add unrealism to it by landing on it because it has more than likely some kind of solid core. I would also think it'd be cool to enter solar systems that didn't have a star in the center of it. It had a fucking black hole. And there were stars orbiting the stars and planets orbiting the black hole because that's an actual thing in real space. To me, that adds a little bit of uniqueness, a little bit of flavor to what I can discover. Like, oh, I haven't seen this before. This is pretty cool. We also have like, what are they called? I can't remember. There's some kind of tiny ass motherfucking star. They're very, very fucking radioactive. But yeah, the point being is there's tons of different types of stars that they could add. Tons of different planets, like rogue planets. They're not even in a solar system. Could you imagine selecting something on the galaxy map and it turns out it's not a solar system, it's an actual planet just soaring through space? Which would then lead that you could do an alien race that is just on a giant planet cruising through space. I mean, the potential that No Man's Sky has is definitely up there. But I think, and this isn't about like removing the sandbox portion of the game. I mean, they have different player modes, so they could easily integrate a story mode as well. When I say story mode, I mean like a mode that when they release a new story, like an expansion pack, the player doesn't have to go and create a new game. They could literally start that from the story mode, say if they're already on. Anyway, that's just, one writer's imagination, one gamer's thoughts on how I feel that, Expeditions and the overall game could be improved within of itself. I think it's time they stop doing these generic updates. And yes, I'm going to say they're generic. And really start diving into the meat of what could be something that could give Star Trek a run for its money.